because one of the questions, of course, is if the Lakers miss out on Kawhi, would that be a good fit for LeBron and company? And I don't need to remind you guys that it was not that long ago. It was a year and a half ago that DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis were teammates in New Orleans. That team was pretty good. One of them was the starting center in the All-Star game, and it wasn't Anthony Davis. Now, we see the amount of money. If you look at the numbers that they put up there, Boogie on a per-minute basis was per minute. Let me make sure it's clear. I don't mean permanent. On a per-minute basis, he was among the most productive bigs in the NBA last year. He was one of 3 players to average 20 points, 10 boards, 2 blocks per 36 minutes. And you see who the other guys were. So this is an extraordinarily talented player. The question marks, of course, come with the injury and maybe still a little bit with the attitude. If you're the Lakers and you don't get Kawhi, do you say, all right, I am putting Boogie Cousins on the floor with LeBron and AD?
I think because of his floor spacing, his ability to shoot the ball, I think he would be somewhat of a good pick. And I think also, you know, look, one of the things that's very difficult to do is coming off that Achilles injury. And we saw him play somewhat well, but his minutes were limited. The one question you always have about Boogie is his weight. Like that weight with that injury are 2 different things.
And, you know, Sean, I think it was you who made the point this morning. We've had so many conversations over the week that it's one thing for Kevin Durant to try to rehab from an Achilles injury because of his frame.
Yes.
It is another thing entirely for DeMarcus Cousins to try to get back to his best, having had that particular injury.
Well, there's no question. And their style of play, obviously, between KD and Boogie are completely different. He shoots a ton of three-pointers, probably shoots a little bit too many from beyond the arc in Boogie Cousins. But I think, unlike Danny Green, I think money is going to be determined about where Kawhi Leonard goes. If Kawhi Leonard comes to L.A., all of a sudden the options aren't as plentiful for Boogie Cousins. If he goes back to Toronto, I think it increases the opportunity to get a shorter but maybe a little bit more money for Boogie right away.
For fans of professional sports and players that want to get into this business, I have 3 players that I want to introduce you to and show you how this business comes at you almost in dog years. 1, Carmelo Anthony. Remember, he left OKC, went to Houston. After 9 games, he was gone. He's out of the league, a future Hall of Famer. The same year we saw Dwayne Wade get celebrated, and rightfully so. Both of those guys are going to the same Hall of Fame. The other guy, Isaiah Thomas. He's averaging almost 30 points with the Celtics. Been on a few teams since then. It's almost an afterthought when he gets signed to the Wizards. And now DeMarcus Cousins, the exact same thing. Starting in the All-Star game, one of the most talented bigs in the game. Now he's looking for work.
Do you think he can recapture most of what he had? Because he's still a young man. Do you think he can become, maybe let's call it the second best player on a really good NBA team?
Offensively, yes. The one thing about as you start to get older and you've had a couple of injuries is teams are going to try to find ways to pick on your weaknesses. And for him, it's going to be pick and roll defense. And so that's an Achilles heel, no pun intended, for Boogie. But if to your point about the Lakers, they're one of the only teams he could go to that he's not their best big on either end of the floor. That's what makes it a better fit.
Can I tell you, if I'm LeBron James, there's one thing I am worried about with Boogie, and I love what he brings to the table offensively. And we've seen a little bit of that with Draymond Green, just here, mentally for him. Like, can he sustain 82 games or whatever you have to do, load management? Like, or is he going to be a liability for us in the playoffs if he gets into a spat with the wrong person? We've seen Boogie blow up certain times where you're like, you don't need that. And that, LeBron, you're going to be worried about that.
And to part of that, it's role acceptance. When you are that all-star player 2 years ago, when you were the all-star and Anthony Davis wasn't starting the all-star game and you were, to now where we're talking about him being a complementary part on a really good team. Are you willing to accept as your role changes until you maybe prove that you can get back?
Very quick.
The Warriors signed Willie Cauley-Stein.
Yeah.
And people in the league aren't complaining about it because they feel like he's actually going to be a better fit with his ability to rim run, catch lobs, and block shots. So for a veteran player like Boogie, it's about reinventing yourself.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports, highlights, and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.